The Venom franchise may not be Sony's best Marvel project, but the third and final installment, The Last Dance, was still a much-awaited movie, especially after the presence of one of Marvel's most powerful villains. Knull was confirmed. While the film might mark the end of the Venom trilogy, Sony's Marvel movies and their Spider-Man universe are nowhere near its end. In this video, we'll take you through a detailed breakdown of the movie, and also elaborate on the eventful climax. There will be a discussion about the potential future of the key characters, and the storyline going ahead, so do stay tuned till the end of the video. There will be some super major spoilers along the way, so you've been warned. Before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin. How does Eddie and Venom's adventure continue in The Last Dance? If you've watched the first two movies, you already know how Venom has been presented as more of an anti-hero rather than an evil entity in this series. His bromance with Eddie has also been one of the highlights of the earlier movies, and it certainly gives a typical buddy cop flick vibe. This has been retained for the grand finale as well, and Venom The Last Dance starts off where Venom Let There Be Carnage left off. Eddie Brock is on the run, and the Venom symbiote is still bonded to him, and they're having a fun evening at a bar in Mexico. Their last encounter with Carnage ended up with Cletus Cassidy getting killed, and Eddie is the suspect for the murder. There's even an arrest warrant out for him, and a typical decision between Eddie and Venom finalized New York City as their destination. We also have some bits and some typical Venom action, as Eddie takes on a gang that deals in illegal dogfights, and that's just about all the fun that the two will have, because a cosmic threat is awaiting them. A terrifying alien creature called the Xenophage is seeking them out, and there are many others like it, commissioned by Knull, the creator of all symbiotes. The Dark Lord has existed since the beginning of time, but currently he finds himself in a sticky situation as he's held captive. Finding Venom and Eddie is the key to his respite, and we will explain this later in the video. Meanwhile, General Rex Strickland from the Imperium is also tracking Venom and Eddie, and he's just a little too late as he reaches the bar after Eddie and Venom have left. He does, however, find a tiny Venom particle on the bar table and takes it back to the Area 51 facility, which is soon about to be decommissioned. The Imperium is an organization that has been researching and capturing symbiotes ever since they first landed on Earth, and some notable scientists work for the organization, alongside a select branch of the military. Unaware of the dangers that await them, Eddie and Venom attach themselves to the side of a plane headed for New York City. Suddenly, their bizarre joyride is interrupted, and the Xenophage that has been tracking them attacks. The impact leaves the airplane engine destroyed, and both the Xenophage and Venom bonded to Eddie are forced to crash onto the ground. What happens to the airplane and the passengers who are doomed? Well, the movie doesn't care to explain, but we do get a cool sequence where Venom transforms into a parachute-like form to help Eddie land smoothly. The creature is completely destroyed and blown to bits, but it heals almost miraculously and continues the pursuit. Meanwhile, Eddie and Venom find themselves in the middle of a desert, and Venom explains to Eddie how Knull is hunting them down in order to find the artifact called the Codex. It's revealed that Knull has been trapped by the symbiotes he created, and now the Codex can set him free for an unchallenged reign over the universe. Can Venom and Eddie handle the twin threats of the Imperium and the Xenophage? As Eddie and Venom are stuck in the middle of nowhere, they're ambushed by Strickland, who wants to bring in Eddie and Venom so that humans can learn about the actual purpose of the symbiotes for arriving on Earth. Earlier, a glimpse of the research facility has shown the infected Patrick Mulligan, who's been resuscitated by the symbiote that bonded with him. Strickland's ambush plans fail, and Eddie and Venom barely manage to escape from another Xenophage attack. A random hippie family traveling through the woods comes to their rescue, and Venom ends up forming a unique bond with them. They hitch a ride with the family, and on the other hand, Strickland and the scientists learn more about Knull from the symbiote bonded to Patrick Mulligan. This symbiote, named Toxin, tells them all about the role of Codex, and it turns out that the only way to destroy the Codex and stop Knull is if the symbiote or the host dies. Clearly, only one of Venom and Eddie will survive this deadly game, and those who didn't guess this from the title itself should get their IQ tested. Eddie and Venom arrive in Las Vegas, and they even encounter a familiar face as they find Mrs. Chen at a casino. Venom shares a dance with the lady, but their merry moments are short-lived because this time Strickland does not miss. His team manages to capture Venom, and Eddie is left incapacitated. How does Venom's sacrifice save the universe for now? Ending explained. Before we take you into the climactic moments of the movie, let's take a quick moment to get into the details of the organization studying the symbiotes. We've already spoken about Area 51 getting decommissioned, but that's only because of the massive public interest and cultural popularity. Secretly, an Area 55 facility is prepared, and it's right next to Area 51, if that sounds rational to you. Area 55 has numerous trapped symbiotes, and the key to the operations here is the scientist named Dr. Teddy Payne. We even get her backstory earlier in the movie, but her tragedy is so irrelevant to the story that we're going to skip that bit entirely. Now, coming back to the main story, Eddie and Venom are brought into the Area 55 facility, where they find themselves in great trouble when the Xenophage is alerted to their presence and sneaks into the base. The attack of the Xenophage is one of the most gruesome scenes of the movie, and it simply chews up anyone in its way and discards the remains through its backside like a paper shredder. The situation gets worse after the Xenophage sends out the message that the Codex has been found, and several more are sent in through the portals. Toxin sacrificing himself doesn't help the cause, and even the combined army of the facility, Symbiotes and Venom are greatly outnumbered and outmatched. In a comedy of errors, it's revealed that the hippie family from earlier has also reached the facility in their quest for finding alien life, and the timing couldn't have been any worse. As a last-ditch effort, the Symbiotes in the facility are freed and allowed to bond with the members of the team, but it still seems to be insufficient in fighting off the Xenophages. Eddie and Venom also help out the hippie family by taking them to safety, but the daring attempts only delay the inevitable. Realizing the futility of extending the fight, Venom realizes what he must do, and it's an emotional goodbye for Eddie. Venom draws the Xenophages to himself and captures them all after separating from Eddie. He then moves toward a vat of acid, and it ends up being the end of him and the deadly Xenophages. A mortally wounded Strickland also triggers a massive explosion to destroy everything, and the threat to the world is averted for now. The final scene is simply a heartfelt farewell, as Eddie wakes up in a hospital and his criminal records are wiped clean, viewing his contribution in saving the world. He heads out to New York City just like Venom wanted and starts a life as a reporter, remembering all the good times he shared with Venom. What is the Codex, and how is it supposed to free Knull? Can he still be freed now that Venom is dead? This is one topic that we would have loved more explanation of, but the movie hardly touched the tip of the iceberg. It seems like the Codex is created when a symbiote saves the life of its host, and through the process, their life forces unite. Eddie and Venom have the Codex because after Eddie was stabbed by Riot at the end of the first movie, Venom helped in reviving him, and their bond only grew stronger since then. Why Knull needs the Codex to free himself is not explained, but we assume it will grant him access to the symbiote hive mind once again, and allow him to regain control. With Venom sacrificing himself, the Codex is destroyed as well, and this is clearly visible later from Knull's fate in the end credits scene, which we'll come to shortly. However, it should also be considered that Marvel Comics has a more detailed theory around Codex, and the lore suggests that the Codex is actually a small part of the symbiote that is left within the host body, even after the symbiote is not bonded to the individual. Since Eddie is still at large, can we really rule out the possibility of a fragment of Venom remaining within him? If that's the case, Knull can always have another shot at reviving the Codex, unless he finds another way to free himself, which he surely will sooner or later. What do the end credits and post-credits scene mean for the future of Knull and Venom? Whenever a movie teases end credits and post-credit scenes, there are two main purposes that are served. Firstly, they often tie up loose ends from earlier in the film, and secondly, they can also hint at a possible sequel in the future. The MCU has been known for teasing the future of the franchise with crucial end credits and post-credit scenes in the past, and it seems to be the same way for Venom: The Last Dance. Although the movie has been marketed as the last in the 3-movie Venom series, the final moments before you leave the theaters suggest otherwise. The movie has both an end credit scene and a post-credit scene, and although none of them suggest that there will be another Venom movie, the presence of the intriguing symbiote might be far from over. The scene that comes in the middle of the end credits has Knull showing his face for the first time after it was obscured throughout the movie. The dark god and creator of all symbiotes seems to be in a foul mood after Venom's death ruined his chances of freeing himself for the time being. However, he vows to kill everyone on Earth and promises a comeback that will leave the universe helpless. It ends things on an ominous threat, and the best part about the scene is how it seems to be directed at the audience as well. Knull is almost as powerful as Thanos in the context of the MCU, and before a major event is built up, it might be smart to develop him as an Avengers-level threat. The foundations of the same have surely been laid out, even though we would have loved for more of a backstory. The director Kelly Marcel also confirmed in an interview with IGN that Knull is too powerful a villain to be a one-movie wonder, and we would be surprised if he isn't brought back with a major role in the upcoming projects. Later, the post-credit scene brings you back to the decimated Area 51, and it's indicated that a symbiote still exists, even though it seems like they were all destroyed. The bartender from earlier in the movie, who was taken in for questioning, emerges from where he was held captive, and he desperately flees the Area 51 on foot. The camera then moves on to a cockroach that can be seen crawling toward a glass canister that looks quite similar to the one used by Strickland to collect a tiny bit of the Venom symbiote from the bar. The scene cuts away without further drama, but it's quite clear that not all forms of life have been destroyed following the attack of the Xenophage horde. Even if we consider that Venom is now gone, there are other symbiotes that can take over, and we have to wait and watch to find out where this is headed. What are the xenophages, and what makes these creatures so dangerous? You can tell that the movie has a big budget when it executes certain scenes with all the grandeur that you might expect from a Marvel project. The xenophage is going to remind you of creatures from The Quiet Place, or simply a combination of various terrifying aliens from space horror movies. This ferocious alien species is known for hunting symbiotes, which is also a part of their diet. Even the brains of symbiote hosts are consumed by these creatures, and you can imagine the horrors that Eddie averted courtesy of Venom's sacrifice. In the movie, the xenophages are commanded by Knull, and they can travel through space and multiple universes effortlessly. Watch out for a detailed video on the xenophage species, which will be up on our channel shortly. Is Venom really dead? How can he be reintroduced? The Venom trilogy has portrayed the titular character as somewhat of an anti-hero whom you learn to adore, and his death comes as a shocker, even though the title of the third movie did tease something like this. Although superhero movies are infamously known for bringing back the seemingly dead, the death of Venom might be quite certain. The fact that Knull has found out that the Codex is gone is also proof of Venom's death, and it seems like his final sacrifice did save Eddie and the universe from Knull's destruction for now. However, there's some hope in the post-credit scene, as we've already discussed, and the sight of the container that was used to take away a tiny drop of venom might be indicative of Venom's existence in some form. Even if the tiniest bit survives, we can expect Venom to return in the future. It could also be Venom's offspring, and he can always be reintroduced in the right story. Sony can always bring Venom back, and let's not forget that the multiverse keeps such possibilities open at all times. If Sony's tie-up with the general MCU results in a combined project, there can always be another Eddie Brock alongside Venom, because Tom Hardy is apparently not too keen to reprise the role. Who is the mystery man that General Strickland reports to? There's a shadowy figure who can be seen, and the face is never revealed. General Strickland reports to this man, and the man seems to be monitoring multiple security feeds from across the world. This mysterious person can be anyone, but from the looks of it, he's a young man who's quite important to the larger scheme of things. Could it by any chance be the Norman Osborn of this universe? Do write us in the comments below about the possible identity of this person. Every major symbiote appearance in Venom: The Last Dance. Venom might be gone for now, but there are some other symbiotes that remain, and one of the major highlights of the otherwise underwhelming movie is the presence of multiple symbiotes. There will be some familiar faces for the comic book fans, and also some innovative ones that have gotten away with some creative liberty of the director. Aside from Venom bonded with Eddie, we see Toxin bonded with Patrick Mulligan. Toxin plays an important role in the narrative, and his warning about the darkness seeking the Codex or his role in the final showdown are worth mentioning. However, the major symbiote cameos are all held back for the climax. A scientist named Sadie bonds with a symbiote, and this form looks like a massive green symbiote with red streaks and tendrils. This is Lasher, and we've seen this symbiote in an Absolute Carnage comic book storyline. Other symbiotes in the facility include Scream and Phage, but they're not prominently identified. There's a symbiote that looks like Scorn, and another two-headed symbiote could well be Hybrid. Dr. Payne bonds with a symbiote, and this purple-looking one is quite likely Agony, even though the appearance and powers differ from the comic book variant. We would love to hear more from you on this, and tell us if you want a detailed video on all the symbiote appearances in the movie. Can the ending of Venom: The Last Dance be a teaser for Spider-Man 4? Will we see Spider-Man fighting Venom or Knull? There were rumors about a Spider-Man appearance in Venom: The Last Dance, but the crossover speculations turned out to be completely baseless. That being said, the movie ending does still leave a possibility of a tie-up with Spider-Man 4, which has already been confirmed by Tom Holland. In fact, the rumor mills are working overtime to bring out the probable villain of Spider-Man 4, and it's reportedly going to be Knull, the cosmic entity who should be a tougher opponent than every Spider-Man villain so far. Since the future of Knull is almost a certainty in the MCU, we can actually see this happening. The way the multiverse events are taking place, even Venom can find a place in Spider-Man 4, and he might turn out to be a surprising ally for the superhero against Knull. Marvelous verdict: Venom, Tom Hardy's last Marvel paycheck. If it hasn't been obvious already, we aren't exactly impressed by the execution of Venom 3, and the narrative leaves a lot to be desired. The story is generic at best, and the worst part is the unnecessary scenes that have been forcibly added for the glam and action-packed content. The airplane sequence doesn't really make sense, and neither does the scene with the horse, or the introduction of the family that gives Eddie and Venom a lift. The duration of 90 minutes is a bit too short, and Knull is no more than a gimmick in the movie, as the story barely delves into the depths of this character. It's still worth watching because of some decent acting performances and special effects, but it might not be the saving grace that Sony had been hoping for. Is it a disaster like Madam Web? Probably not, but the fact that we're even bringing in this comparison tells you everything you need to know about the movie. Sony might not be done with this particular lane of Marvel Universe, but Tom Hardy, in all probability, has had enough. What you think of this latest Marvel entry into the cinematic universe, and share your thoughts on where you see the story headed next. And if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one and be safe. Thanks, everyone.